The poem we picked to analyze was The River Merchant's Wife, a letter by Ezra Pound.
In the first stanza, it's talking about how the two young people meet. In the poem, it says, two small people without dislike or suspicion. They got along great. They were friends. They were just young.
In stanza 2, they're 14 years old. They get married, and she tries to just make the best of her situation, and, since it was arranged. And she says, I called to 1,000 times, I never looked back. So she just kept going forward and tried to make the best of everything that was happening.
The third stanza starts out with, at 15, I stopped scowling. She realizes that she's going to be married to him forever, and she might as well make the best of her situation and be happy while she's a wife.
In stanza 4, they're 16 years old, and he leaves to go and fight in a war. And he's gone for 5 months, and the poem says, the monkeys make sorrowful noise overhead, which means that, she misses him a lot and wants him to come home so that they can be together.
In the fifth stanza, there is a lot of imagery that shows how much the wife misses her husband and how much she wants him to come home. She talks about how the leaves fall early in autumn and the paired butterflies are already yellow with August, showing how fast the seasons are coming and how it's turning to winter, which is more of a sad month than the summer, which is kind of referred to in the earlier of the poem. The last few lines of the poem talk about how the wife wants to know where her husband's going to be when he comes home from war so she can meet him, so she can see him as soon as he gets back, because she misses him a lot.
Some modernism characteristics is that modernism gave voice to women, which is not common at the time period, and giving a voice to women is big in Ezra Pound's poem because it's all on the point of the wife. And according to James Pearson, it helped bring important issues about race, gender, class, and religion. It also has strong imagery, which paints a picture in your mind, and you can tell that from the last stanza of the poem, where it says, the leaves fall early this autumn and wind, the paired butterflies are already yellow with August. It's painting that picture in your mind that the seasons are going by. And according to Abby Warlock, modernism concentrates on the role of language and really gets to the point pretty fast. And it's not emotional, and this is all a big part of modernism.
According to James Pearson, Ezra Pound wrote his poem after reading Eastern poets when he invented imagism. He invented imagism to try and revitalize and reform poetry because he didn't like the way where it was going. Pound also focused more on the wife's feelings rather than graphic wartime descriptions, which allowed the poem to validate women's experiences during wartime, which was not very common. According to poets.org, imagism is taken from Japanese and Chinese poetry and has no traditional rhyme or meter. This poem reflects imagism because it is a translation from Chinese poetry, Li Pao's poem, and there is no rhyme scheme the poem uses. The poem concentrates the most on the clarity of the language, which is what Ezra Pound really wanted to stress when writing this poem.
To compare modernism to another literary time period, Romanticism is a soft and emotional time, whereas modernism is very to the point. It doesn't want to mess with your emotions. Romanticism values sensibility, imagination, and nature, whereas modernism is more about being real and actual. It's more about culture and art, and it doesn't have the flowery language that Romanticism will have, and if it does, it's pretty easy to decipher and you can understand it, whereas Romanticism, it's hard to figure out what the poet is saying. And Romanticism, it plays with your feelings about the characters and the situations, whereas modernism is more about wanting you to think about the situation and the characters that are in the situation, and that is according to Abby Warlock.
According to Marie Diamond, modernism is normally characterized as anti-realist, but this poem is different because It shows aspects of realism through how realistic the wife's situation is while her husband's away in war.
You don't think that's weird?
Nope, because